It went well. I think I spoke for about an hour.
You spoke an hour. See?
So we'll start with our question and answer segment. This question is directed for Mufti Aasim Rashid. And I quote, "There was a recent article written in The Atlantic entitled, 'What ISIS Really Wants.' And it stated in a nutshell that ISIS is trying to fulfill the Islamic prophecy regarding the end of the world. That ISIS is trying to fulfill the prophecy regarding the end of the world. This is a significant motivation behind these atrocities, because they want to make the nations of the world so angry that they will go to war with them, and ushering in World War III. And this idea seems to be attracting thousands of Muslims to join them. Why would so many Muslims join ISIS? What are the teachings they use to convince or facilitate so many? What do you, as a Muslim, see as a long-term solution to bring peace with ISIS and Islam?" Thank you.
That's a lot of questions.
I haven't read this article, but Derek just told me he's going to forward it to me. ISIS is trying to fulfill an Islamic prophecy. You know, in Islam, we do believe in the Day of Judgment. We do believe that the world will eventually come to an end. But we don't have this apocalyptic mentality where, okay, that's it, it's all over, so it's not like that at all. The end of the world, as it were, is marked by certain events and certain changes in society, and those signs are told to Muslims so that they don't become like that. For example, for lewdness and indecency to become common, okay, is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. It has been told to us so that we avoid it. It has been told also that ignorance will start prevailing and knowledge will be uplifted. So that's so that we continue to educate ourselves and don't become ignorant, and so on and so forth. There is a substantial amount of literature in the Islamic texts about the Day of Judgment and the signs of the Day of Judgment. But what's very interesting, when I read this, I recall one hadith, one prophetic tradition, and it's very strange, because this tradition has been authenticated, and it talks about the black flags. When you see the black flags coming from Sham, which is Syria, and in that narration, the Prophet, peace be upon him, describes these people who will be raising these black flags and some of the horrific things that they will do. And the Muslim communities are told to stay away from these people at any cost. So if it is an Islamic prophecy that they're trying to fulfill, they're doing it by being the group that everyone is supposed to stay away from. They want to make the nations of the world so angry that they will go to war with them, and ushering in World War III. Well, I don't know if I can comment on that, because I don't know that this is what they want to do. But why would so many Muslims join ISIS? I think towards the end of my talk, I talked about the different groups that are joining them and their reasons. I see 4 broad categories, and I think the law enforcement people are even in a better position to tell us, because they're involved hands-on with those people that are joining them. They'll have a better idea. What are the teachings that they use to convince or radicalize? Well, they use many of their Islamic texts, their religious texts, they talk about killing non-Muslims or killing disbelievers. Why would anyone want to join any group that bases itself on just killing? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to the human intellect that, okay, you join a group that's they just want to kill people. So people who read their propaganda or are exposed to it need to ask themselves some really hard questions. And why is it that all of the scholars of the Muslim world have, with one voice, condemned these people and told people to stay away from them? If there was any academic substance to what they were doing, you would see scholars as the first people, because that's what they deal with. They deal with the texts. You would see them being inclined to endorse them or to stay quiet. But the scholars of the world from all the countries of the world have spoken out against them. Long-term solution to peace with ISIS and Islam. Honestly, I think that we need to critically review our approach to all of these kinds of things. I think there are serious problems with the way the West is approaching these issues. We dealt with the Taliban in a certain way when they're being occupied by Russia, and they were our heroes. When they were given control over the country, we called them fundamentalists, we ridiculed them, and they don't want to have anything to do with them. And we dealt with them in a certain way. Then the Al-Qaeda problem comes along. We dealt with Al-Qaeda in a certain way. But Al-Qaeda, remember, has morphed into ISIS. It is a splinter group of Al-Qaeda that did this. And like I say, these guys make Al-Qaeda look like the Boy Scouts. Imagine a group that Al-Qaeda says it's too extreme. Imagine. It's funny almost. So how have we been handling it, and have we been successful or not? I've read the work of numerous analysts, CIA analysts, who say this whole thing is all wrong. And when I learned that Canada is considering joining this airstrike, you know what came to my mind? I said, okay, fine, we're going to bomb them. These guys don't live on bases. They live within communities and neighborhoods. Bombing them means bombing the neighborhoods. So a lot of collateral damage, civilian lives lost. The second thing that I thought is that, okay, even if you bomb them to smithereens, they're going to divide, disperse, and go off into other countries, neighboring countries, and regroup. And then tomorrow, instead of one ISIS, you're going to have 10 ISISes to deal with. Or maybe more than that. And how will you stop it then once it spreads to that extent? Today they're still in an area that's limited. Tomorrow they're going to be everywhere. I don't see this as a solution. And I think that whenever society has refused to come to the table with another group, it has only resulted in destruction. It doesn't matter who they are and what they are. You need to bring people to the table and engage them. Treat them like human beings. Find out what their concerns are. Hey, maybe we can work together to deal with these concerns. But if your only solution is to bomb the heck out of people, I'm sorry, that's not much of a solution. It never has been, it never will be, and I'm scared that this may lead to something even worse. I'm just telling you, look at the timeline. Look at the timeline, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And you'll hear these people saying, we just want to be left alone. Just go away, we'll be fine. We don't want to hurt anybody. Some of them are saying that as well. So I think we need to bring them to the table and engage them. And of course, that will be the only time when you'll be able to control them as well. Right now, they're out of your control. So I see a necessity of a critical review to the whole approach that the Western countries and the coalition has taken with these people.
So this next question is for Sergeant Derek Rattle. And I quote, "The framework for identifying radicals is really similar to mental health to mental health frameworks for identifying people who struggle with mental illness, such as suicide, depression, etc. How can one differentiate between someone struggling with mental health issues and someone who is quote-unquote radical? Is identifying someone radical just a matter of religion then? Does it make sense that a person's does it make sense, or is it sensible to boil it down to religious profiling?
I just want to start off, and mental health may play a role and a factor in that. I'm not going to deny that you may have elements there of mental health issues that may exacerbate or worsen the situation of where the person is at, the juncture. So not going to exclude that. And the other thing is, when we talk about things, we're not talking about profiling any group. We're specifically talking with a series of behaviors. Now, the difference in those behaviors is when someone's become radicalized, if there is a mental health component to it, it may worsen it. It may increase the speed at which the person becomes radicalized or is going to go and do something. So I'm not going to deny that may be an element within there. The thing I would say is you're looking at a series of behaviors, and the difference is within a group, because as well, you'll have individuals who are also radicalizing each other, their social network, and that's one of the things we look at is, as I say, there's a variety of factors within radicalization. The social network the person may have become associated to at that stage may have helped because they become of like mind and they're moving toward a goal. And so that's one of the things too, is they're moving toward an objective collectively as a group. And that objective may be something that would be quite violent. Whereas if you have someone who is an individual that may be mentally ill, that may not play well with others, and their only group may be on the internet, and psychologically, they believe they're part of some team, but they're not. If you follow my line of thought there, that they've been unable to connect really with another group of people because of their behaviors and stuff. And that's the whole thing. We want to stay away from, you're not looking at a group per se at all about their religion, their ideological or their political issues. You're looking at a series of behaviors, what they're espousing directly. They may be talking openly about it to their friends or their family who are backing away from them, and which is embarrassing in some cases, that they don't want to come out and talk about it. And this cuts across all cultural and religious lines, where we have people, we call it leakage in the policing world, where it's showing up on the internet. They're talking about going and hurting people. They're talking about going and doing those things. So you're going to have that occur. And so what we're saying to people is you have to be cognizant of it. If you start to see leakage, and like I say, it cuts across those lines, some families, and this has been follow-up investigations, the FBI has done quite a bit of work on it, and the thing is people saw those indicators beforehand, and in some cases within the family, and they were ashamed, or there were factors there, they didn't come forward to speak up, to say they needed help at those junctures. So I just want to clarify that.
I guess this is addressed for Mufti Aasim Rashid. His next question. What is the context of the verse, and I quote, "Kill them wherever you find them"?
So this is one of a number of verses that pertain to the rules of engagement. And this wasn't the case where a treaty was broken on the part of the non-Muslims. And the fear of the Muslims was that what if these people attack us while we're in the sacred precinct in Mecca? Are we allowed to retaliate, or do we have to allow ourselves to be killed and slain by these people? What if they attack us there? So in such cases, the Quran expressively states that no, if you are attacked, then even there, if you have to, you can fight back. And that's exactly what that verse is talking about. You pick up any of the commentary literature of the Quran and you will see it very clearly. But if you were to take it out as a soundbite and start playing it over and over and over again, that makes for a pretty violent message. Okay, just kill them wherever you find them. That makes it pretty easy. So just imagine, if that was the context of the verse, you have 1.6 billion people, 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. How many non-Muslims would remain after that? Not too many. If this was the Quranic directive.
And this next question is also addressed towards Mufti Aasim. And I quote, do Muslims want to take over the world?
Wow. Take over the world? I don't know. I never really thought of that. A Muslim who understands their religion would like to see it spread. They would like to see people touched by the faith. They would like to see people reading it, learning about it, and making themselves familiar with it. That's what a Muslim would want. That's what the Quran defines as a conquest. It's a conquest of the hearts. It's not a conquest of lands or properties or assets. So to have that desire inside, that I wish more people would accept Islam, that's perfectly fine. I wish the whole world would accept Islam, that's perfectly fine as well. But there is it doesn't make sense that, okay, we want to control the world. If that had been an objective of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there would be some basis for it. But he never set out to control the world. Who are we to go out and try to control the world, or rule the world, or own the world? Who are we to do that? It's not a part of our faith. That much is for sure.
Okay, the follow-up question. Okay, these questions haven't really been addressed to anybody. I'm assuming they're addressed to certain people. I'm going to go into the assumption that this question is for both of our panelists, and I will pose it as such. Why are you emphasizing on such a statistically minor issue of radicalization?
Answer first, I guess.
The question is correct from one perspective. That statistically, in fact, this was brought to my attention by one of the politicians that attended our first meeting there on October 18th. They said, if you talk about stats, gang violence, organized crime is much greater a priority than this. This doesn't even count. It doesn't even make it to any lists that we know of. Problem with violent extremism or ideologically motivated crimes is that the harm that they do is very great, because it makes society feel like they are under attack. It's not an attack against a person or even a small group. It's an attack against the whole society. And we are here to kill you, all of you. That's why they call it terrorism. It throws everyone into a state of terror. And oh my God, who's next? Who is this going to happen to now? It creates a general state of fear in people. And the second thing is that sometimes it completely tears apart the fabric of a society. Any group, if there's 10 of us, and we have reason to believe that one of these 10 people is planning to kill all of us, can we ever live together in peace? We can't. We're always going to be suspecting who is that 10th person who is out to do this. So it tears society apart. It throws society into a state of fear. And it looks like you have one group that is completely intolerant to the rest, and then the rest, of course, they have the right to demand security and protection from this one group. So yes, statistically low, but in the respect of the damage that it does to a society and to the trusts that a society is founded on, it is immense. And I'll let Derek continue from there.
I concur. No, that's fine.
Okay.
You answered it succinctly.
This next question is for Sergeant Derek. If someone's family is being killed by storms caused by climate change, and said person destroys equipment belonging to an oil company that causes climate change, should this person be treated like a terrorist by Canadian authorities?
What I would say is, if a person is destroying parts of critical infrastructure under the criminal code, it's pretty clear that that is an act of terrorism within the scope of Canadian law. And in answer to the question, should this person be treated like a terrorist, they would be tried like any other individual in a court of law, and that would be decided at the end of the day. But yes, it would be under the terrorism legislation.
This one's pretty straightforward, I guess. It's from Mufti Aasim. What is Sharia?
I get this one at the end of every session as well. Sharia literally means law. In Arabic, the term Sharia can be used to refer to any law, conventional law or Islamic law. It's a set of teachings, a doctrine. For us, Sharia means the set of teachings by which we operate. So our beliefs, worships, mannerisms, ethics, and all of our things that we do as Muslims, it's all governed by a set of teachings. That set of teachings is called Sharia. Now this term is often a buzzword because of the context that it's used in. They say, oh, the Muslims want to bring Sharia law. And Sharia law, for some reason, now means that they want to impose certain kinds of, certain types of corporal punishment as a result of certain crimes. So what people have done is they've taken certain elements, very small and minor elements, of the Islamic penal code, and I'm saying they're minor not because of the gravity of those penalties, but minor in the sense of their application.
Oh, just press that. Is it red?
There's a red button at the bottom.
Right on the. Just says
No, it
low
just says
battery.
the battery is low. Is there another one? No, it says low battery.
Oh, okay. Just
It's okay. Can you hear me if I speak loudly? So, minor in the sense of where and when and how frequently it's actually applied. So, Sharia law for us is just Islamic teachings. It's just another word for Islamic teachings. But the term gains notoriety because of the way that it's projected. So, my belief, for example, is Sharia law. My worships are determined by Sharia law. Everything I do as a Muslim is determined by Sharia law. And there are no exceptions for that. The penal code of Islam, like any other penal code, is subject to many conditions, and it is also sensitive. It is also sensitive to conventions. It's not to be applied anywhere and everywhere. And in fact, those specific penalties are there to serve as deterrents and not to actually be applied. That's how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, presented these penalties as something that should never ever have to be applied. Even when the person comes and confesses of their mistake, don't apply the penalty. Tell them, go away. That's between you and God. And it only becomes a problem when people are not doing the act, they are promoting the act. It's one thing that a person is committing a crime, it's another thing that they're promoting it so that the crime is basically, is being propagated, popularized. That's when it becomes a problem.
I believe that does it for our Q&A session. So I guess we'll wrap up here. I would like to thank everybody who attended this event. We really appreciate your patience in bearing with us. There were a few difficulties in the beginning and a few delays. So we do appreciate your coming out and spending time here. We hope that this event has left you empowered and has given you the tools to understand where we as Muslims stand in this day and age and what efforts and initiatives are being taken place by our communities at large in addressing these contemporary issues. We would like to, before we conclude, we would like to also mention that there is going to be an upcoming conference tomorrow at Douglas University in Westminster, which is Friday, February 27th, from 2:30 to 5 p.m. February 27th, which is tomorrow, from 2:30 to 5 p.m. at Douglas College. And if you have any further concerns or queries, just be sure. Yeah, I think it's dead. I'll just stand up. If you guys have any further questions or concerns, just be sure to email at campaign.cave@gmail.com. This campaign is going to continue tomorrow. We hope to see you guys there. If you have any colleagues or friends, let them know. And lastly, we would like to thank our wonderful presenters for coming and taking their time out. We really appreciate your guys' coming here. We would also like to thank the SFSS for providing the facilities, as well as all the members here who helped in contributing in some way or shape or form in the setup and every other aspect. So with that said, thank you very much. Have a good night. And with that, we'll conclude. Thank you.